Good evening. How's everybody doing today? Good? I'm very good because I'm very excited to be here. I'm excited every Monday to come here because I feel like there's so much peace and harmony in this environment, and it recharges me from the impurities of our daily lives, the things that we have to go through in our days, the issues and the troubles. And I think that as humans, it is in our nature to always seek something, to look for something. We wake up and we're immediately taken hold by wanting to do something. In our lives, we seek perhaps a new job, a new car, a new home, a new girlfriend, a new boyfriend, some people a new husband, a new wife. We're always seeking something. Whenever we go through an activity in our life, perhaps an exercise, a physical exercise, manual labor, we get dirty. Our bodies get dirty. We pick up all the dust in the air, all of the other things that causes us to want to bathe, to want to shower. So we seek that blessed shower, that water, that warm or cold water that's going to cleanse our bodies. It's going to clean us. But this is just an outward cleanse. It's only cleaning the body. We ought to seek something else as well. Because we all come here on Mondays for a reason. We're seeking something. Everybody goes to church, synagogue, mosque, temple, whatever denomination they may be. They go to those places of worship in order to seek something. And what are they seeking? Something beyond. They've already bathed their bodies. The outward cleanse has already been done. They're smelling nice, they're fresh, they're relaxed. But what about the inner cleanse, the inner shower? When we bathe our souls, our spirits. This is why it's so important to seek. Because when we seek something beyond, we might find what we're looking for. And in the infancy of humanity, we were very brute, crude, rudimentary. We were only able to contemplate materiality. We were only able to gather, hunt, forage, reproduce. There was no society, there was no fraternity, there was no solidarity, there was no notion of the love that we recognize today in our relations with someone else, with family. There was none of that. It was an egocentric society because the hunters, the gatherers, the ones that foraged, all they wanted was to seek that which would feed them. They were seeking that which would satisfy them individually. And God, in His infinite wisdom, sent us a Christ. Not Jesus Christ from the religious aspect, but a Christ told to us by Emmanuel in the book On the Way to the Light. A Christ that is a pure spirit. A spirit that has traversed all of those journeys that we are yet to traverse. A spirit that has ascended to the point where He's one with the Father. He channels God through Him. He is a mirror of the Father. He's a reflection of the Supreme Father. That's what Jesus is. And God sent Him as His envoy to govern our planet. From the inception of the earth, from the moment when the masses started coming together to form our dear earth, Jesus back then was already a pure spirit. He had already ascended to that level. So imagine that. Science puts the earth at approximately 4.5 billion years old. 4.5 billion years ago, Christ was already a pure spirit. What were we 4.5 billion years ago? An atom? A cell? A dinosaur? An ape? Primate? Who knows? No one really knows. But I can guarantee we are not what we are today. Far from it. So this Jesus was sent to earth with the responsibility to water the seed of the civilization that was to be born here. So in His wisdom, He sent His own envoys, representatives of His gospel of love, to throw the first seeds on the soil of earth. Because humanity was in this dark room with nothing to see. There was no light, there was nothing. So as humanity progressed and they began to kind of get a glimpse of what they needed to understand, God sent to us, or God, Jesus through God, or God through Jesus, sent to us one of the first missionaries to establish the foundation. He gave us Moses, and Moses came to earth and gave us this window. We are no longer in this room of darkness. Now we have a little bit of a glimpse of the light that is outside, the light that we can now look at and appreciate. This was a light given to the Hebrew people at the time, the only monotheistic people who believed in one sole God at the time. And they were granted this wonderful blessing. So Moses was the first spirit sent by Jesus to enlighten humanity. And then, not long after Moses, came the prophets. And the prophets were nothing more than the various seeds that Christ continued to spread, his representatives in the Congress of humanity, to carry out his divine law, to carry out his prerogative. They would establish, little by little, the idea that was soon to become true. The idea that in this field which was beginning to be cultivated, a tree was going to blossom. A tree that was going to be fruitful. A beautiful and wonderful tree, which was when Jesus then came and incarnated on this earth. Because he was such a great spirit, such a great essence, it took centuries for him to become small enough, like us, to be incarnated into a human body. So he came to earth. And Jesus came to earth and presented to us this door. Now in this dark room, we not only had the window, that we could glimpse something on the outside, now we had the option of a door. We could leave this dark room. This material room of darkness that limited our senses, constrained us to understand what the reality of our existence truly is. So now we have this door, and Jesus stands there. He taught us how to perhaps contemplate leaving the room for the first time. This was his mission. And before he left, he promised to humanity that he would send a promised consoler. In the future, when humanity was ready for it, because humanity with Moses was in its infancy, with Jesus perhaps its youth, and now, later on, in the 19th century, at its maturity, when the sciences began to flourish and blossom. Because then, after these two wonderful, wonderful leaders of humanity, spiritual leaders of humanity, came the key. In April of 1857, a former student of Heinrich Pestalozzi, that was known as Hippolyte Léon Denisard Rivel, who adopted the pseudonym Allan Kardec, would publish the skeleton of the body that would become the Spiritist doctrine. And the Spiritist doctrine is what humanity at that moment sought. They did not know it, but it is what they sought. Because it is the key to the understanding of the lessons of Jesus Christ. And so much so that it's said in the Spirit's book that, or in the Gospel explained by the Spiritist doctrine, that Jesus' words cannot be adequately understood without a key to decipher them. It is this key that the Spiritist doctrine offers us. Because when we open the works of Allan Kardec, the books of Allan Kardec, we begin to finally open that door and walk out of that room and glimpse the outside. We no longer have to look at the sun, contemplate the light from the window. We no longer have to contemplate opening that door, because now we have the key to unlock that door of materiality and walk into the garden of spirituality. This is what Spiritism has done and continues to do for us. Because I invite everyone here, it is important, study, read. It is by studying that we progress. It is by reading that we learn and grow. If we don't do any of this, we remain stationary, and that's not good. Because an idle mind is a playground for many, many inferior thoughts. So always study, read, learn. All of Allan Kardec's works, they're so enlightening. They truly are the key to understanding our essence here on earth. And so we have Jesus' door that he presented to us that is now open. And he said in Matthew 7, verses 7 through 8, ask and it will be given to you, which is equivalent to God helps those who help themselves. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. I want to learn. You have the means, you have the tools. The messages have been brought. The prophets have come. The Messiah himself, the Galilean master, the Galilean poet, the Nazarene, he was here. Everything has been given. The tools are there. You have to seek it. Go to the toolbox, open it. There are plenty of screwdrivers for you to tighten that little bolt within your head. It's all available there. And he continues on, for everyone who asks, receives. He who seeks finds, and to him who knocks, the door will be opened. In other words, if you truly are sincerely looking to transcend the materiality of life, to not worry about today and worry about not tomorrow, but the real life, he will gift you with all those answers. Christ, the works of Allan Kardec, and the Father himself. Through prayer, because that is the ultimate connection. It isn't the prayer that we talk about in a religious sense, but the prayer is simply a communication, a conversation, an exchange of thoughts, because words need not be uttered unless you feel like you need to utter them, because sometimes that helps us. But just a thought. A nice thought is a prayer already. A smile can be a prayer. Any of those actions, and I guarantee you're going to receive some sort of blessing in return. And continuing on, which of you, if his son asks for bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, will give him a snake? If you then, though you are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good gifts to those who ask him? If we can see the love that a parent has for their child on earth, because on earth we contemplate love in a very limited sense. We think we know what love is, but we don't. There is no earthly definition that precisely and accurately reflects what love truly is. We think we understand it, but we don't. And we see that parents, in their love for their children, gives them gifts, hugs them, kisses them, shows all sorts of affection. A brother loves a brother. A sister loves a sister. A son loves a mother. You're welcome. Friends love friends. They hug each other. We see all this it's representative all across humanity. This is normal. So if we are able to do this, even professors at schools, when the classroom, the average grade is not passing, what does a professor do? He allows a curve. So those that didn't do as well may also proceed to the next stage. So if all these people can do this, why the Supreme Father, the origin and creator, the cause of everything, if he is supreme love, supreme intelligence, supreme justice, why can he not grant us love? Why can he not grant us these gifts we seek when we are sincere and we pray? It would be absurd to think that we can do it here and God can't. That doesn't make any sense. Logically, at least, it does not. Because he is the cause of all of the effects. Because for every effect, there is a cause. So if we are here, there must be a cause for that. If the earth is here, there must be a cause for that. If the universe is here, there must be a cause for that. And the greater the effect, the greater the cause. In other words, how great must the entity that is known as God to us must be? That energy, the supreme intelligence. Because it is not a who is God, like Kardec inquired. It is, what is God? And humanity differs from animals because animals have instincts. Humanity in its infancy had instincts. Instincts predominated because we did not have our intelligence developed sufficiently enough to be able to carry out certain things. And instinct is nothing more than the Father in heaven controlling us and telling us what we need to do so we survive, so we do not deteriorate, so we do not pass away, so we're not destroyed, so we do not perish. And animals have this. They have this instinct. Humans differentiate from animals because we have this this notion, this idea of wanting to improve, of wanting to exceed, of wanting to become better. We're given this faculty known as intelligence in order to progress. We seek to elevate humanity from a period of its infancy, from a period of uncivilized to a period of technology. We seek to learn, to research, to study. We have all of these amazing inventions, all of these creations, all of these things that we enjoy today as conveniences that only 100 years ago were not even pondered about. And as I said before, God helps those who help themselves. And there is a universal law known as the law of progress. The law of progress reigns supreme in the universe, like all other universal laws, obviously. But progress is a constant. Nothing remains stationary. Everything is in a progression, in a movement. Nature goes through cycles. It has summer, winter, etc., etc. Flowers go through cycles. Trees, animals, women, men, humanity. Everything is cyclical. So there's a progression. You can choose to remain stationary, but you know what? The tide of progress is going to push you and force you through painful experiences because you decided to deviate from the path of progress to actually do something about it, to amend yourself, to push yourself back into that righteous path. And the law of progress works in conjunction with the law of work. Because where there's work, there's progress. Where there's progress, there's work. Because when we work, we invent things, we create things, we progress. When we progress, there's more work to do. Work never ceases, never ends. Jesus said, "My Father works to this day, and I also work to this day." And we all will continue working to eternity. And what helps us, what binds the law of work with the law of progress? It is the faculty known as intelligence. The intelligence that allows us, that fuels us to perform our duties here on earth. And how do we explain progress? How is it that civilization has gotten to the point where it has gotten? How come some generations were able to benefit from technology and older generations weren't able to? If we don't use the idea, which is a natural law, of reincarnation, progress cannot be existent. The word progress has to have reincarnation at its base. Without reincarnation, there is no progress. Because you cannot create a being who lives a life, learns something, and deteriorates, and then create another being who lives a life, because whatever this being learned, that being hasn't learned yet, so he's starting from zero again. If that was the case, humanity would still be at the Stone Age. We would still not be able to do anything. Because a generation came, they commenced a study, they laid a foundation, whether it's science, math, whatever, and then this generation perishes. Comes a new generation. A new generation of spirits incarnate into the planet. From zero, how are they going to be able to build upon that foundation which was laid from the previous generation? It makes absolutely no sense, logically. So reincarnation is a must in creation. Because through reincarnation, we realize that the older generation created some science or something, laid the foundation, and then that generation of spirits discarnate, and then another generation comes in, and then another one, and these spirits, remember the cycles I mentioned, they cycle through these generations, bringing the knowledge they've acquired from the previous generation into the current generation, so on and so forth, all the way on to today, where we have the technologies that we benefit from, that we enjoy so much, like the internet, our smartphones that we love to bury our faces in every day. These are the fruits of reincarnation, of this generational ascension of study and of intellect. This is what that means. And here in the Spirits book, it is said, reincarnation taught by the spirits is founded upon their evolutionary march of nature and the progression of humans within their own species. So reincarnation is a must. It is how we progress. It is how we work to better ourselves. We must come back to amend our wrongs. And because when we're incarnate, We go through obstacles in life. We learn things. We try to transcend. And then when we discarnate, we're in erraticity. We're an errant spirit. We're in our spiritual journey in the spiritual world. And we're given the opportunity there to learn, to continue, to progress, to work, to do whatever it is we need to do, to make amends in the spirit world, so that when we come back and reincarnate after being cycled through the errant state, when we reincarnate, we have the ability to put to work through the faculty of intelligence, which is a manifestation of the spirit in the physical sense, so that we may right those wrongs, so that we may progress. So we have to understand that basing everything on this that I've just explained, what we seek, which I think everyone here seeks to be better. It's important to seek that, I think. We are both the sculptors and the sculpture. We hammer ourselves into what we want to be. We are a reflection of the work of art which we design ourselves. It is said here, seek and you will find. In other words, work and you will produce. In this way, we are the product of your own efforts, we are the product of our own efforts, and have the merit for what we have done by ourselves. Our reward will correspond to our accomplishments. So, we produce something, we work. What is our merit? What do we deserve? Because we produced, we have the reward of consumption. Now we can consume something, we can obtain something. We sought to produce something, to work, and now we can obtain something. God gave us arms and legs to work, to cultivate his field here on earth. Because if we were not supposed to do that, we wouldn't have legs or arms. What is their purpose? What is the purpose of a hand? To work, not just wave like I'm doing right now. What is the purpose of a leg? To walk, to push yourself in this tough journey that is the life on earth. It is the vehicle that propels us. If God didn't want us to advance, he wouldn't have given us intelligence. We would have atrophied brains. Basically, if we didn't need to do anything, we would be rolling masses on earth, laying on a hammock, waiting for God to do everything for us. That is not the case. That is not the truth. Because we are here to work. God expects us to work, to do whatever it is we want to do, but it is essential that we work, that we do our duty here on earth, that we complete the tasks which we ourselves asked for in the spirit world before reincarnation, so that we can come here and be successful in completing what we came here to do. To seek that ascension so we can find it. This is what's important. And Christ says in Matthew 6, verses 19 through 21, do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth. All right. So human beings seldom are satisfied. Name me one person in here, myself included, who is satisfied with everything they have right now. Thank you. Okay, some people are satisfied, but not everybody is satisfied. And we're always seeking more. Always. It might not be clothing, a car, or a house, but we are always seeking more, whether it's money, whether it's a better relationship, whatever it may be. We're never satisfied. We're looking for something more. We forget that we're here to do a certain work, and instead we focus on this life instead of the life. And by focusing on this life, we're not helping ourselves. We're not seeking the true life. We're not seeking the purpose of our being here. Because we get so frustrated that, oh, why can I not get this car? I've worked so hard. I've saved my money. I can't get that. Why can't I get these clothes? I love them. I know I want more of this, more of that, more of this, etc., etc. It's always I want this, I want that. But what happens? When you do this, you focus on the wrong part of life. You deviate from that path because we're all tasked and assigned a guardian spirit, a guardian angel, commonly known as a guardian angel, a spirit that will guide us and help us in our lives and inspire us to do good because they love us. They are around us right now. They're next to us at every moment of our lives. We don't realize it, but we do sense it. When we're lonely and we're sad and we pray and we feel some love and we feel the sensation of something around us That is them hugging us spiritually. That is them saying it's going to be all right because I'm here and I'm going to guide you. As long as you listen to me, as long as you follow the right path. Because focusing on the earthly life, on the materiality of life, we deviate from that path. We're so worried about that we're unable to contemplate the life we truly need to seek. So Jesus continues on and says, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moth and rust do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. If my treasure is in my closet, or in my garage, or in my bank account, and my heart is there where that treasure is, guess what's going to happen to my heart? It's going to rust, deteriorate, it's going to rip. Because as soon as I lose that treasure, I've lost everything. Because I have no other treasure. I don't have a transcendental treasure. I have a temporary treasure, a transitory treasure. Because we don't own anything in life. We're stewards of the things that we have in this earth. We're renters of the great earthly apartment complex. We don't own anything. And the rent comes due when our lease is up and we discarnate. And what are we going to tell Jesus and the kind spirits that try to tell us that we need to make those monthly payments by observing the reality of life? What are they going to tell us? I mean, what are we going to do? Then we're going to beg, please give me another chance. And God is, in His divine wisdom, His divine and supreme love, is going to say, okay, reincarnate, give it another go. But sometimes we're not blessed enough to reincarnate here because we were so hard-headed and we deviated so far from the path we had to walk that now we have to go to an inferior planet, an inferior place, so we can learn the trials and go through further pain. So that can really, it's kind of like a kick in the behind. It's God saying, hey, pick it up, wake up, go do your business. Focus on the reality of life. Focus on that which you need to do. And the message goes on here. By the way, this is a wonderful passage. It's all found on chapter 25 of the Gospel Explained by the Spiritist Doctrine, or according to Spiritism, whichever translation you own. Do not worry, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For the pagans run after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. Well, if we take this literally, we should just sit back, relax, and wait for God to grab us a nice cold lemonade, right? Well, the fact is, this is a poetical allegory. What we need to do is work in order for them to help us. Because as soon as the good spirits, the guardian angel, sees that we're doing the right things, they're going to come back and say, he's ready again to have me by his side. Or she's ready again to have me by her side. She or he is ready for me to propel them further in this journey of ascension in this life to learn. Because human beings are a manifestation of the divine. We are a manifestation of the divine. We are a limited, constrained, inferior, very, very small, infinitesimal manifestation of the divine. Because if you are created in His image, we are a part of Him. Jesus said on the Sermon on the Mount that we are blessed. Why are we blessed? Because God, He is the ultimate blessing, correct? If He is the ultimate blessing, then those that He created are little blessings. And everybody on earth is a blessing. And the entire planet Earth is one great, it's actually 7 billion blessings. That's how blessed the earth is. So, like Paul said, Paul the Apostle, it is no longer I who lives, it is Christ who lives through me. He said that in Galatians 2:20. Because he found this integration where humans, we manifest God because we become His servant in doing good, because that is our purpose. When Paul was focused on the material life, on following the rituals and the traditions of the Jewish religion during his era, he was focusing on material things because that's what the outward ritualistic traditions are. They don't cleanse ourselves, like in the beginning when I said that bath that cleanses us. This ritualistic stuff that's still observed to this day, unfortunately, only cleanses the outside. It does nothing to the inside. But Paul was blinded by the great light of the Galilean poet in the gates of Damascus, fell off his horse or camel, whichever animal he was riding, blinded himself. It was then at that moment that he realized how great this person, this entity that he was persecuting his entire life up to that moment was, because he saw the bright light of Jesus Christ right in front of him. And it was so great that, like I said, he was blinded by it. And in realizing at that moment his inferiority, in humbling himself, which is what we all need to do, in humbling himself, he asked Jesus, Lord, what would you have me do? He sought an answer to Jesus, and he found it. Because he left behind all of those previous resentments, all of those previous problems that he had with those who did not abide by the Mosaic law. And now he embraced the true teachings of the gospel, the teachings of Christ, charity, love, solidarity, fraternity, all of these things. And he became the apostle of the Christians, the apostle of Christ on earth, manifesting Christ here. He went all over the world of the known era and planted the seed of Christianity. Again, not the religion. Christianity as in the behavior that we are supposed to manifest while on earth, the behavior that is in accordance with the teachings of Christ, the behavior of the gospel, the behavior of love. Love one another as I have loved you. Love everyone because we are a family. We don't have blood relations, but we have spiritual relations. Because if you're all incarnated on earth, that means we are all in the same level of advancement. That means we are all in the same category, spiritually speaking. So yeah, sure, there are some on the higher end of the spectrum and some on the lower end of the spectrum. But still, it is a range, a lower and a higher range. And we are all in between it on this planet. Of course, there's your missionaries and those who come to help advance humanity. But for the most part, we are all in the same stage. So life, an incarnation of physical life, is a step. Imagine your evolution as a ladder. You have the first step when you're in your infancy as a spirit. Because children, when they don't have an adult, they look to their elder for leadership and guidance. Usually the oldest one of the bunch will be the one to guide them. And what are we? We are children on earth. And who do we have to guide us? The oldest brother, Jesus. He is that pure spirit who's already traversed, as I said, the journey that needed to be traversed. And he's our older brother who guides us. So it is important that we embrace this notion, this idea. And there was a young man who was very wealthy, succeeded often, and played sports during that era. I forget the actual name of the Roman competition that was held during that time. But he was a successful athlete of the time. And he asked the master, what can I do to inherit the eternal life? And Jesus replied to him, you have to honor your father and your mother. You cannot commit adultery, do not steal, etc., etc. And he said, the young ruler said, well, I've done all of these things. I've observed these laws. And then Christ said, well, there's one thing you haven't done. Sell everything you have and give to the poor, and you'll have a treasure in heaven. Then come and follow me. In essence, he said, you came here seeking to find something. He found it, but he wasn't happy with what he found. Because he's spiritually immature, he wasn't ready yet to embrace the reality, the truth of what we need to embrace. He wasn't ready to let go of his things. I'm not ready to let go of my smartphone. I'm not ready to let go of my car. I'm not ready to let go of my house. These are all mine. Well, guess what? You're going to have to let go of it because we're all going to die. That is a certainty. So why worry about these things that are so transitory and temporary? Things that deteriorate, that rust. Because the body rusts as well. Gravity does a great job to us when we become old. Everything starts descending, correct? Things start falling out. So we see how proud is humanity. Because we look in the mirror as we age and we see ourselves falling apart, and yet we're too proud to accept the fact that we need to humble ourselves because we're such inferior creatures still in this body, which is a blessing, It is our temple where we do the work of God, where we have to manifest Him through it. It is the vehicle that helps us to ascend. It's a blessed vehicle. I'm very thankful and grateful for God for having given me this gift of reincarnating, of coming back here in this body, so I can work out my issues, my mistakes, and pray to Him and ask Him for guidance at all times. So Jesus, this wonderful, illustrious Galilean poet, he said to the apostle, "Come and follow me." He said to the sinner, "Go and do not sin any longer." He said to the paralytic, "Stand up and walk." He said to the hemorrhagic woman, "Your faith has cured you." The hemorrhagic woman, she sought a cure so much. She had so much faith in the fact that if she grabbed the garb of the tunic of the Christ, that she would heal herself. And she did. What did she do? She exercised that potential, that divine potential that is within us. She manifested that at that moment because she believed so much in the fact that if she only touched that thing, which wasn't even Christ, it was just His tunic, if she touched that, her 12-year-long bleeding would cease. And it did. The sinner who went to Christ seeking advice, Christ told her what she needed to do. He taught her the lessons that she needed to learn. She sought, and now saying, "Go on and do not sin any longer," is equivalent to saying, now that you know the truth, you're more responsible for the mistakes you commit. Because now you carry a greater burden. Not a heavy burden, not a bad negative burden, but a glorious burden because you understood your purpose. And so now because you know more, you have to observe the laws even more. Because liberty is further constrained the more we know. Because liberty equates to choices. And when we don't know, we are able to choose. Well, he doesn't know any better, so he made a wrong choice. But when we know better, our liberties diminish because now we've ascended morally to a next level, and we understand that if I make this choice, I'm going to have a bad consequence. And that is where liberty diminishes. The more we know, the less liberty we have. And the more obligation we have to commit to the teachings of Christ, to commit to God, and to be a steward, a servant here, to harvest the field of light, to water the seeds that have been planted such a long time ago and are still struggling to blossom into a beautiful rose. And Jesus said to the, go back. Jesus said to the paralytic, "Stand up and walk." The paralytic who stood by that pool wanting to heal himself for such a long time, but was never able to because someone else would always go ahead of him, and he no longer could go into the pool. Because back then, you think of how primitive thinking it was that once someone got to the pool, no one else could go into it because only that person would be treated. But the paralytic was never able to get there because of his situation. Jesus saw him and witnessed this and said to the paralytic, "Stand up and walk." And he did. Why? Because the paralytic realized what he wanted. He was seeking this cure, and Jesus awakened in him that desire. And the paralytic said, yes, got up, and he was healed. Because he manifested once more that divine entity that lives and resides within us. That small little flame that flickers dimly within us, that's God. And the more we do in the good, the brighter that flame shines, the warmer it is, the more it attracts other people to us, the brighter it is. When we turn on the light, all the cockroaches scatter, correct? They're afraid. They don't like it. When we turn on the light, those who are flying, the wasps who have ascended, they're attracted to the light. It's a crude metaphor, but I think you get the point. So Jesus said to the apostles, "Come and follow me," because he is the way, or I am the way, not me. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. He came here, he gave us a door, he opened it up to us, or he didn't open it up to us, but he gave us the option, because back then we could still choose. We didn't know any better. But then Kardec came and gave us the key, handed it to us on a silver platter. And now we can no longer choose. If we choose, we're negating a fact. We're rejecting our purpose. So we have to choose wisely. Well, we have to just grab the key, turn that lock, and open that door and walk out there into the bright light of the Father. And there's a wonderful passage from Teresa of Avila, or Teresa of Avila, who was a Spanish mystic, and she is also a Roman Catholic saint, and she was an author during the Reformation, and she lived between 1515 and 1582. And she brings to us, it's a beautiful image in my opinion, she brings to us a beautiful message that I think summarizes everything I've said to you here, and I'm going to read it to you. Now, I've brought it in English because there is no English translation. Well, let me rephrase that. There is only a Portuguese version, so I translated it into English. But the English isn't as poetic because it doesn't rhyme, but it still gets the point across. So I'm going to read it in English to you, then I'll read it in Portuguese, because I'm sure most of you here are Brazilian anyway, and it will resonate more with you guys than the English part. So just bear with me one moment here. Okay. It's a beautiful message. Drink it. May nothing disturb or frighten you. Everything passes. God does not change. Patience attains everything. Nothing lacks for whoever has God. God is enough. And now in Portuguese, tudo passa, Deus não muda. A paciência tudo alcança. Quem a Deus tem, nada lhe falta. Só Deus basta. And I think this is a beautiful poem because it makes me emotional. And I want to thank everyone for your attention today. And I'm always humble myself before everyone that's here because you're donating your time to me. And I'm the one who benefits the most from this because I think learning is a wonderful thing and reading is a wonderful thing. And I learned much doing these lectures. And I hope that someday, each and every one of you will also have that interest because once it awakens within you, you never want to stop. It's a wonderful thing. So thank you very much, and may God bless you always and forever.